you so much for joining us for a special edition of Fango Convo. We're celebrating the 10th anniversary of MTV's Teen Wolf. Today, we have joining us Jeff Davis, the creator, Russell Mulcahy, the director, Angela Harvey, one of the writers, and Holland Roden, who plays Lydia Martin. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. My first question is for Jeff. What was sort of your inspiration for the series?
I have actually talked about this a lot, and I have one singular love of the 80s, and that is The Lost Boys. That movie was a great inspiration. There was a bunch of inspirations for Teen Wolf, but when MTV asked me about doing Teen Wolf as a TV series, I actually said to them, have you guys watched the movie lately? Because it's not even really a werewolf movie, it's a basketball movie, and it's kind of a comedy. And they said, yeah, we don't want to do anything like that. So I said, actually, what if we do it kind of like The Lost Boys, which was sexy, scary, and funny, and most of all, it had a sense of humor too, which was, we didn't really want to be a Twilight ripoff, we wanted to do our own thing. And having a sense of humor was paramount to the idea. So it all came from sort of combining those ideas of the love of certain movies from the 80s with something sexy and scary for now that we could do. About 10 years ago, my God, I can't believe that.
And what kind of discussions did you guys have looking at like how to transition from those 80 movies and those Teen Wolf films to a series?
Well, I think Russell Mulcahy was a big part of that, because when he came in to meet with us and direct, I had known him really, really well, his work. I mean, all the way back from Hungry Like the Wolf, the Duran Duran video. I mean, the man basically made the 80s, MTV in the 80s. So it was really cool to bring him back. So Russell, why don't you talk about?
Well, I mean, when I was invited to come to the meeting, so I read the script, Jeff's script, and it was just so fresh and energized and unique, and I just called out for me to draw up some key frames, just kept pen and paper, and I drew like, oh my God, 30 sort of frames from the script, images, and because it's a very visual script. And so I went there and had the meeting with Michael Thorne and Jeff and Marty Abelson, I think.
Yes.
And it was just, we just got along. It sort of was a fantastic meeting.
Yeah.
And bang, we all went off to Atlanta, our little troupe.
Yeah, I was always asking him about movies like Highlander, Ricochet, and I had seen The Shadow in the theaters. I'd seen a lot of his movies already.
And I think Jeff and I had a singular mind in that, yeah. One that it's just great character-driven story, but also very visual, and we just wanted to make it look like a movie, like cinematic.
Yeah. There's an interesting thing about pilots in TV. You can shoot a pilot, and then the rest of the show looks nothing like the pilot. I mean, if I look at Criminal Minds, which I created, the way we shot the pilot, it looks nothing like the rest of the series. It was shot like an indie film with an indie film director, Richard Shepard. So that was the big thing about Russell, is he was both the pilot director, but he was also a directing producer on the show and executive producer as well. And he carried the look from the pilot all the way to the series finale. So the show is Russell's look very much, which he made it look like a movie every week. And it was a challenge because on our budget, doing that was incredibly hard, which Angela is smiling because she remembers just how hard it was.
She does very well, yes.
Oh yeah, you throw out the best idea, let's do this. Okay, let's do this.
I remember reading one of the first scripts in the first season, and the writers had an idea to put in an airport. And I said, airport? There's no way we're gonna shoot in an airport. Do you know how expensive that is? So it was a lot of scenes in locker rooms, bedrooms, and
forest.
And forest, plenty of forests. What's that?
That blue damn Jeep.
Yes, the Jeep.
And the Jeep.
Yeah, that's the one thing you realize about TV is cars are actually locations in and of themselves. You can set a lot of scenes there. A lot of great scenes with Holland in that Jeep, especially.
I mean, it's become a cliche now, but everyone says it, but it's true. Like when you have your budgetary restriction, it really does unlock creativity in some really interesting and fun ways. And I think that that shows up on Teen Wolf every episode.
Yeah.
What drew each of you to want to be a part of the series?
Angela, you want to answer it?
Well, you know, I came on kind of uniquely. I didn't come on as a writer. I came on as an assistant. So I was assisting a non-writing producer at the time, who we finished a movie, and then the next job was Teen Wolf. And so that was my first time on a TV set, was my coming on to Teen Wolf. And so then I would read the scripts, and it was funny because all the production side, everybody's like so excited for the next script to come out, and Jeff was super hands-on as showrunner, and I had been doing all movies before then, and I didn't really ever see a writer as present as Jeff was able to be on this show, and my mind was blown, and I loved it. So I'm excited that I got to be a part of it.
Yeah, she started out we brought her into the writer's room as an assistant, and then she graduated up and became
talent.
One of the biggest parts of the show.
Absolutely.
Which was really nice to be able to do on a show like ours, because at a certain point, the network kind of left you alone. So I was able to hire people in positions that elevated them. Like we made our script supervisor into a director one year. And she did a phenomenal job, Katie Eastridge. And our first AD got to direct an episode. Other people got to direct episodes. And Russell would say, "Why are these people directing my episodes?"
Storm out of the room now.
Yeah.
We just had a great group of talent, and Tyler Posey directed an episode.
That's right. Holland, you never got to direct.
No, I never directed. No.
But go on.
No, I don't know. I would be too nervous. I've never had the directing bug. I've always just wanted to produce. So that is where I stand.
And that's what you'll do. That's fantastic.
We'll see.
How did you guys go about establishing rules for each creature?
That was a lot of time in the writer's room. And we had new creatures every year.
Yeah.
I remember telling Russell, do you remember when we were doing the pilot? I already, on the set of the pilot, I think it was the first day of shooting the lacrosse stuff, I think. I had already told you that I had an idea for season 2 if we were so lucky to do it. And I was gonna make Colton Haynes the bad guy, and he was going to basically be a walking lizard.
A lizard man.
Yeah. And we had a lot of fun with our monsters, and a lot of fun getting them to work on set. Russell, do you remember, Angela, you remember this, because I have a picture of it. The first time we saw our alpha wolf come out on set.
Oh my God, that was like episode 3.
Yeah,
in Atlanta. Oh my God.
It wasn't quite finished, and he kind of had like knee socks up to here. He had half of a torso built, and the mask did not look good at all.
No.
Russell and I looked at each other, and we were like, "Oh God, we're dead."
Yeah. I think we called him the mosquito or something. I mean, it looked like
the tick.
The tick, that's right. And we had him quickly shuffled off set because there was quite a crowd there, and people had turned up to watch this amazing shoot at night and at the school. It was like, we just, anyway, and yeah.
Holland, you never got to see that.
And people were taking photographs of it going, posing with him, and we're going, oh no!
Colton told me about this.
Yeah, the tick.
Oh, it was terrible.
But so then I think I flew over to K&B Effects. Yeah. And wonderful guys, and they created a really good creature for us.
We were always trying to combine practical effects with CGI and try to get the best of both worlds. And the best CGI is always the shots that are sort of invisible, that you don't really know it's CG. but our budget really never allowed for us to get like movie level CG, although some shots really did.
They're like so dramatic. One
but,
thing I loved about the show is just how darkly it was lit and how it did capture that very John Hughesian Lost Boys world. And it was funny when I saw Stranger Things for the first few episodes, I was like, this is Teen Wolf. We just didn't set it officially in the 80s. Like, that's the one place we went wrong, apparently. Was just officially making it 80s because it had such a lean to that era, I felt as well.
Totally. To your question about creatures, Corey, we had, I think, the biggest debates in the writer's room about what was and was not subject to the rules of Mountain Ash.
Oh my God.
People have very strong opinions about the power of Mountain Ash.
Yes.
Did you guys like study a lot of mythology and lore to kind of figure out what you wanted to keep with the creatures?
Oh yeah. We were always diving into all sorts of myths and things and trying to find the coolest thing we can put our spin on. I loved doing that. We treated each season like it was sort of a novel. And every season was a new mystery, a new creature. I remember when we were doing one season and we just mentioned the Ghost Riders. And Angela, you were the one who said that should be the villain for the next season, didn't you?
Yeah.
Riders of the Storm, yes.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was going to add that we did tons and tons of research, but like Jeff was always very specific about staying within the shapeshifter mythology. So it wasn't like, it was like willy-nilly search the world for everything, but interestingly, almost all the cultures of the world have shapeshifter mythologies. So there was just a lot to mine there and a lot to like get to know about other peoples and what they believed, what they searched into, what was myth and what they felt was reality. The Teen Wolf universe was over the 6 seasons is quite fascinating to watch and how it develops, and it's just a lot of fun, scary, good fun.
Yeah, and one shapeshifter, one character who wasn't a shapeshifter but was a creature of her own was our Banshee, Holland.
There she is.
She was a normal girl in the first season, and then we decided to give her some layers.
Did you guys always plan on her being a Banshee from season 1, or how did that?
No.
How'd you decide on that one?
We heard her scream and how good she was, and I think it went from there. Holland, you never scream on camera anymore, right?
No, I don't.
It's amazing you still have a voice. I mean, my God.
My voice actually did change from Teen Wolf. I used to be a singer as a kid and as a teenager, and
no.
I thought I developed nodes because I wasn't screaming properly. Because your first job, all you want to do is impress every single boss you have on set. It's not so different now, but you might save 10% for yourself now. And I would give it my all. And I went to a ear, nose, and throat doctor, and they put the scope down me. And sure enough, I guess I don't have nodes, but I guess your vocal cords are supposed to go like this, and mine close now like this. So that is why I now have a raspy voice. And I've tried to fix it a couple times, but I'm not disciplined enough. So it closes like this. And hopefully it'll work for VO at some point.
You have that smoky Kathleen Turner voice now.
Yeah, very, very sexy.
If you go back to first season, I don't have that. But I mean, so I believe everything happens for a reason. I don't feel the fatigue on my voice. It feels normal to me. But yeah, that's the Teen Wolf arc for me, was all here. I was
but for the record though, we did pull back on that. Like once we knew, like we were playing recorded screams. We weren't pushing Holland for.
Yeah, eventually you were doing these silent screams and we were doing effects out of your mouth.
Like season 4, that was like, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Saying to you, why didn't you tell me?
Because you just are so happy to be employed, and I loved my job on Teen Wolf, and I love acting, I love being on set. So you just do it. You're like
every day you just jump into the deep end. Yeah.
Well, the directors were always losing their voices. by the end, because they scream at everyone.
I know. But you know what? The one thing we were blessed with just a wonderful cast.
Yeah.
Right from the pilot, you know, in the pilot we had like Tyler Posey and Crystal Reed and Dylan O'Brien, Tyler Hecklin, Holland Roden, and I think we had one adult, and we Lyndon Ashbury.
Lyndon Ashbury.
Was he the only adult on the pilot?
On the presentation pilot, yes.
Sorry, presentation.
Yeah, because we actually didn't get to shoot a pilot. We shot a presentation pilot.
Absolutely. It was like 40 minutes.
Which is actually, it was like 25 to 30 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
They gave us a few extra scenes, but MTV back then wasn't ready to spend, certainly not what they spend today on first episodes of TV shows.
The pilot, we were about a bunch of student filmmakers running around in freezing Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, what memories. Day one, we had the, remember was the makeup trailer caught fire?
Yes, we have photographic evidence of that.
I heard about that.
We said, oh, this is going well.
We had a lot of disasters on that presentation pilot, and we never quite experienced hot Atlanta. It was always very, very cold Atlanta.
Right.
I don't know if you guys knew this. We were driving to set one night because the cast could not be separated. We wanted to see all the shots be shot, even if we weren't working, and we didn't know that wasn't normal. So I think it was Crystal, Colton, and I in the car, and I remember production had given us a rental to share amongst us, and we were driving out on this dirt road. I was probably going 50, 60 miles an hour, and a deer came out and jumped, like, I don't know how we didn't miss it. I just remember like the hooves being near my rearview mirror on this side. And I know what that, I mean, I have an uncle who hunts, and I know that if we hit a deer that fast, I thought I was going to kill the cast myself and ruin the rental car. And it was about, I was terrified, and we were innocently going to see everyone else shoot. So I don't know if you guys ever knew that. It was horrific.
Almost lost half our cast.
The pilot presentation, and I don't know how we did. It wasn't like I don't know how we didn't hit it. And it's not one of those you see coming. It was just all of a sudden deer, and I don't know how but we didn't. And I've never driven that fast on a dirt road since.
We could have used one of those deer for the scene in the woods.
Yes.
It was one of our stray CGI deer. That's why it didn't hit you.
We hit a CGI deer, I think, on season 3.
We did it. No, it was the pilot. Remember, we had the CGI deer.
That's right. Yes. But there is another one in another episode where the deer goes through the window.
Yeah, yes. We actually hit a deer in a later episode, which I was like, I don't know if you ever knew that story. Yeah, we did actually hit a deer in the pilot presentation.
So Angela, I know you helped create the Teen Wolf interactive game. What was that like, and what was it like going from that to the writer's room?
That was my first paid writing thing ever. I had, and that was kind of incredible. It was a lot of work. We ended up creating like 30-page scripts every week for what was that game ran, I think, like 10 weeks. So, and then it had been such a benefit that I had been the assistant in the writer's room that season, because I knew where things were going, and I could kind of fill in without giving away too much or like taking the fans in the wrong direction. So that was a lot of fun. That was very much like an indie film shoot in terms of like Matt McDonough, who's a friend of mine to this day, worked at MTV, and we would record the little sketches that went into the videos for Facebook. And I wrote these words for Gerard, and the first time I ever heard an actor read words that I wrote, it was Michael Hogan.
Wow.
In the trailer, and he read the speech that I had written for him, and then later, not knowing I'd written it, complimented the writing. And it was like
that's a moment.
It was such a moment, right? So Teen Wolf the Hunt is like it's very close to my heart. I love that game.
I never heard that story. That's amazing. And Michael Hogan is such an amazing, nice guy.
Yeah,
He's got some health problems right now, but he's on his way back apparently.
wonderful actor.
Oh, good to
Yeah.
hear that. So good to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Holland, what was your biggest challenge with playing Lydia besides the screaming?
If you say the high heels, I'm gonna kill you.
Every single job, I'm 5'4". Officially, I grew an inch over Teen Wolf. I swear. Yes, every job, I'm usually in some sort of platform to lift me up a bit. But what was the biggest challenge?
Was it being naked in the forest?
Oh my God.
And it was like minus whatever.
I feel like Posey gets that token for sure, or Colton, one of the two.
You were more naked.
Well,
Sorry.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, that was
Posey.
the fun one.
You remember?
Yes, I remember now. There was
and I had to talk to you, and you went, "Okay, you're the gay director. You can come in and chat with me."
my
I was
covers-
allowed in the tent.
So my nipple covers wouldn't stay on. They usually give you like nude underwear and nipple covers.
Right.
And it was so cold they would not stay on my boobs. And so he's like, it's fine. They can't show nudity. And I'm like, Russell, no, you don't get it. And he's like, it's fine. No, I'm like, but the crew. And I have to go like this. And he's like, oh. And so I did have to flash Russell at one point on set.
And I went, that'll work.
Ironically, it has nothing to do with a Me Too moment, thank God. But no, we were close.
Oh, yeah, you're in trouble.
Family, it was so much fun. I guess my biggest struggles were mechanical than anything else. It was the voice and the high heels. And I guess if I had to pick out one thing, but I really actually love it as a strength, that I really learned on Teen Wolf was you do so many scenes by yourself as Lydia. And so I would have to be reacting to just green screens or just a room. So many scenes. I think I had Posey and I really rivaled for like who had the most solo scenes. And I think I might have even won.
There's a real reason for that though. And it's because we realized very early on how good Holland was at playing fear on screen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when you get that actor who can look that scared, it's like she's the one in all these scenes. And it just really helped. She essentially became our quote scream queen, our Jamie Lee Curtis for the show in many ways. And she was up for anything, and it was great. We love you, Holland.
Oh, no, it was fun. I mean, I have only fond memories. It was, we learned, I go on other shows and I think other actors have experienced this as well. They're really team players. Like they just jump in. And I was like, well, Teen Wolf really taught us, like, we didn't know any different. And I had been a series regular on one show prior to this, but it was a very different kind of show. And yeah, this was a show that I really got to grow up on. And, these aren't my Teen Wolf friends. These are like my best friends in real life. Teen Wolf is such an integral part of who I am. So it wasn't obviously just a job, I don't think, for any of us. And to this day, it was one of the most fun sets I've been on. I mean, there was like fart jokes up until action. If Tyler Posey is in a scene, which was he was in most of them. So I now don't need that like concentration. I can just jump in it right on action. So be that good or bad for other actors, Teen Wolf really taught us to be tough people. And I think I grew up with a pretty tough dad as it was, so it wasn't that different for me personally. But yeah, if you couldn't hang on Teen Wolf, you didn't usually make it to a second season recurring. There were tough conditions and you had to be ready for sure. But it was fun.
Cast and crew. I used to joke to Jeff and say, like, we should write a Werewolf That Howls at the Sun. Like, it was just, it's, when you have that many night shoots and like lots of action scenes, it's hard for a cast and for crew, but it also made it so that it was lifelong, enduring connection, like we had such great people on both sides of the camera who yeah, bonded for life. You know, you go through something that was difficult, but then at the end you're proud of it. We used to every week have a viewing party at Jeff's house. When the episode would air, we'd all be just in his living room, like, and then we know what's going to happen, but it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And then we're applauding at the end and just so proud of it. So
it's nice when you work on a show where the people who work on it are also fans of the show.
Yeah, and you're proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a great crew.
And sort of going off of what Holland was saying, what did you guys think was sort of your biggest takeaway, the biggest thing you learned from working on Teen Wolf?
Well, I can say that in writing Teen Wolf, we had to find the show at the beginning. We didn't know what the hell we were doing, because back then serialized television wasn't really a thing. I did an interview just last week for Entertainment Weekly about the pilot's 10th anniversary. And I went back and I looked at pieces of it, and I looked at the end and it says "to be continued" on the end of it. And no shows say that anymore, because they're obviously to be continued. So we kind of had to learn how to write this show as a serialized show, and not like Buffy, like a creature of the week. And the biggest learning curve for me was saying, okay, are we going to treat it? We're going to basically treat each season like a movie. So I figured out early on that, okay, for a 12 episode season, the first 3 episodes are the first act. The next 6 are the second act, the middle act, and the last 3 episodes are just the finale. So the last 3 episodes have to go super fast and keep running. It never really changed from that. And I think we found a really good paradigm. What about you, Angela?
I mean, I learned basically my career, honestly. Like when I went to film school, I was on the producing track. So I took film production, and then I started assisting a non-writing producer. And then I wrote Teen Wolf: The Hunt and went into the writer's room. And fortunately, I had writing samples. I'd done some writing on my own, but in terms of like learning, I mean, that's my film screenwriting instructor in the square next to me, like every day in the room. I was like, I can throw out an idea and he can say, well, no, that doesn't work. And he was always really specific about why it didn't work. And so like every day I was helping by throwing out ideas, but I was also learning how to build story and episodes of TV, which is what I've been doing ever since. I can't believe it was 10 years ago. But yeah, there's not a lot that I know about TV or about writing that I didn't learn on Teen Wolf.
What about our veteran director? Did you learn anything? Because you had a huge, Russell had a huge career before him. I mean, directing Sean Connery.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, with Highlander and whatever. I mean, I think just before this, I've just finished Resident Evil: Extinction.
That's right.
And another movie with Thomas Jane. But then to come into this was just, yeah, it was a dream. It was just fantastic. We did the presentation that then turned into the pilot. And then I think I was in Australia. I'd just written a script. I'd written a script for a thing called Bait, a 3D shark movie, sharks in the supermarket, whatever. And so I was down there just to see how it would go along. And I got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning from Marty Ebbleson saying, we got picked up. And so what I learned from this show, everyone, the crew and the cast, we were like a family. And it was about endurance and just trying to keep it fresh and make sure everyone's safe. And just the sense of family, the closeness of everyone, from the writers to the crew to the cast.
Yeah, Russell directed the first episode of Queer as Folk, the American version. And you did a few episodes of that afterwards, right?
Yeah, I did the first 3 hours. 3 episodes.
But this was the show that you really stuck with all throughout.
Yeah. And then I came back later and did some more. That was a wonderful show, yeah.
Yeah, we were together for 7 years, all of us. It was a long time.
That's true.
Do each of you have a favorite episode or a favorite moment?
I have several. I'll let other people go first.
Several.
Holland, what about you?
There was something so pure about the buddy comedy between Posey and O'Brien, and like it or hate him, as Jackson, it's like I think Colton just nailed that, and the brooding Hecklin. So there was something about season 1 for me. I guess I would probably choose the finale of season 1, when I feel like we really found our footing as a show, and we really felt that really fine balance between comedy and horror and heart. And I knew when I read the pilot of Teen Wolf, one was, why is MTV doing scripted okay? Question mark. And there was a few actors that were a bit snobby, I guess I could say, and we're like, no, I'm not doing Teen Wolf. I mean, MTV. And I was like, it's a good script, though. There's something here. I know it. And I felt that in my bones reading it. And so getting on the pilot, still having that feeling even grow by the finale of the first season, it's just a real, it's like it has a place in my heart for sure. And then it's probably an episode in season 3 where 3A and 3B, the cusp of that, of the kind of the old cast and the new cast coming in, with Shelley, with Max and Charlie. There was something special about that too. So those are probably my 2 favorite pinpoints, if I had to pinpoint, because there are so many moments, like Jeff said.
Yes, I remember in season 1, one of my favorite episodes in season 1 is the one with the school dance. Is that episode 11?
11, yeah.
11, and the scenes with Holland and Dylan,
Yeah,
are just magical, and it's
Feels metal.
yeah, and yes,
Yeah.
and we shot that scene so quickly, but it just works. It just shows the talent of these actors, and yeah.
there's a lot of fun moments in season 1 I can point to, and we worked so hard on that show. I mean, we were out in the cold. I was doing rewrites in my trailer at 3 a.m. I mean, some of the things we had to go through, like in season 2, Angela, do you remember this? Finding the sword.
I'll never forget that.
I hope there's no lawsuit involved in this, but that sword is actually, so our prop master, who unfortunately didn't last beyond that episode, was supposed to bring us a sword, and we're out in the middle of the woods, freezing our asses off at night, and she brings us a rapier, like a plastic, like Peter Pan sword, and it was every single thing but the gigantic 2-handle sword that we were asking for.
The Excalibur.
Yeah, and we were like, what the hell are we gonna do? So it was, Angela, it was you and Atia and
Nikki.
And Nikki, you guys, they ran out. They found a sex shop in Atlanta that for some reason was selling Enduro, a sword from the Lord of the Rings.
I did not know.
So they brought it back, and I'm like, this is from Lord of the Rings. We can't use this, and we taped up the end of it to make it look slightly different. But I think a lot of people recognized it online.
It was the closest thing to a broadsword, but like we were calling everyone we knew. It's after midnight. We need a sword, and a friend of mine was like, I think I know where you can get a sword. Is there a sex shop? And we're like,
but that is essentially how we did the show. We were always doing the show that way.
Adapting to chaos.
Yeah, I mean, you see these shows on Netflix these days and Hulu, and they look like they have so much money. There are shots in the pilot episode of Teen Wolf that were pickups done in the garage of our producer's house, where Russell went to Griffith Park out in Hollywood, gathered up leaves and put them on the floor.
And sticks, which is, I think it's illegal taking branches, but whatever.
And there's a moment of Tyler Posey being dragged by the alpha werewolf, and it is me holding his legs, dragging him past camera. That's how we made this show. for a lot of times. Even into later seasons, we were doing stuff like that. And that was partially a lot of passion. a lot of it was Russell too, because Russell's passion was infectious, and he was always about getting the shot, to the point where we would argue about whether he needed a crane or not, or whether we could get this shot or not. And
there were tears.
There were fabulous fights and tears, yes. But you need someone like that, because Russell's why the show looks so good, even on its small budget.
Russell, I pray that you own a drone now, because now there's the technology that is there.
You know what? I had a few drones. I don't have one right now. I just bought my nephew one, who's just actually gone to Antarctica with the Australian government, and he's doing a research station down there. So I got him a fabulous drone because he wants to, and so hopefully I'm going to get some good movies for him.
Yeah.
It's going back to your question though, it's hard to pick favorite moments when we've done 100 episodes. There's so many that I like. I mean, I love the introduction of certain new characters like Dylan Sprayberry as Liam. The way we introduced him was so much fun, and the way Scott bites him. And I love, one of my favorite finales is both 3A and 3B. 3A when Scott faces off with The Rock and Gideon Emery as Deucalion, and 3B when we have basically ninjas in a Japanese garden covered in snow. It was crazy. I don't know what, I remember being like saying to one of my producers, I said, in season 3B, I think I want to put ninjas. And he's like, I love ninjas, let's do it. And after we had gotten away with the lizard, the Kanema in season 2, we kind of were like, well, I guess we can get away with anything now.
that snow shoot, or it was actually on stage at the set with fake snow. But we started shooting that in like midday in the afternoon, in the morning, and we shot through the night. I mean, it was one of the longest shoots. And I remember we saw people at the beginning of the shoot. We carried on shooting, filming. I don't know, it was looking fantastic, and people then would turn up all shaved and clean with their Starbucks. We realized, oh, the sun's come up. It's like, we've gone through the night.
Yeah. Holland, what about you? What was your favorite? Do you have a favorite episode?
I think it's season 1 finale, or probably the same one, 3B, and it was either 3A or 3B, but I think 3B with the ninjas, and I believe 3B was Void Styles as well, right?
Yes, 3B was all about the Nogitsune and the Oni. The
and
Oni were our ninjas.
Yeah, like the folklore around the game Go, and the man who played the Nogitsune was the Nogitsune,
yeah, Aaron Hendry.
He's a
man.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, to be an actor that can't speak, or you can't really see his eyes that well, and the way he vocalized, so to speak, his character.
He couldn't see either. He was blind in that thing.
I know. And the big white room, I love the juxtaposition. It reminded me like of an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode that terrified me. And there was something about 3B's storyline that truly terrified me.
I love the big white room.
Yeah. There was, on this stage, because our stage was a converted warehouse, and there was this giant white room that was sort of hollowed out, and we don't even know what they used it for, but Russ and I walked in there one day, and Russ was like, we got to use this. And that became the setting where we put the Nematon, and he shot it in this phenomenal way that made it look like a Stanley Kubrick movie. Mm-hmm. And when you do stuff like that, I mean, TV is basically master, go in for close-ups and get your coverage, and that's it. We were really trying to shoot it like a movie back then, and not many people shot TV shows like that, especially on broadcast. Mm-hmm. Angela, we didn't hear from you. What's your favorite?
Yeah, I've been thinking this whole time, like favorite. It's such a big word. But I think I'm gonna settle on 306, Motel California.
Yeah.
Very good. Directed by Christian Taylor.
Yes.
I went to set that night. Just to hang out on set after the writer's room, and it was really, really cold that night. And you know, in between takes they had the warm water to warm Posey up, but like that moment between Posey and O'Brien, I just was like, oh, these are grown men. Like the moment that they gave that speech just felt like a shift in both of them as people, as characters, as actors. And it just sings on the screen too. And that whole episode is great, but You're My Brother is like, wrecks me every time.
It's the only time I've ever seen Jeff cry.
Aw.
Remember?
Yeah. Well, those words came from my own life, actually. Someone said that same thing to me once. If you go, you're going to take me with you. So it was really nice to see that. I mean, the show really wouldn't have worked if Dylan O'Brien and Tyler Posey didn't have that special bond, that chemistry.
Right.
It was, I mean, when I first thought of the opening of the pilot, I was basically just doing a riff on Stand By Me. Two kids go out into the woods to look for a dead body, except in our version, they're only looking for half. But once we put them together, I knew that we might have something special. And Posey and O'Brien were a perfect pair on screen. They were funny, but they hit those moments of drama. It was something to see. So it's one of those things you can't quite capture in every show.
Agreed.
And if you guys could be any of the creatures on the show in real life, what would you be?
Good question. This is like what superpower would you want?
Mm-hmm.
You could have any superpower. I gotta remember all of our creatures.
My creature would be Coach.
Coach is definitely a supernatural creature.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be a werewolf, but in control. So, I don't know if I could do with that much hair though. But our werewolves never had that much hair. Colton had a funny name for our werewolves, because we were basically, when we were doing it, MTV kept telling us it needs to be sexy, sexy, sexy. I remember a note I got on the pilot script. An exact quote was, "Every single scene needs to be oozing with sex." And I'm like, how are we going to do this with a guy who becomes a werewolf and just gets really hairy? There's nothing sexy about a hair, like a hairy wolf. And so we decided that we would create a werewolf that you could kiss. And that was, Russell and I worked with the makeup artists for like
long and hard.
Three seasons to get that right.
They became less heavy as the seasons go on.
Yeah, and Colton called them nerewolves because they didn't have much hair. What about you, Russell? What creature would you be?
I think I'd go with the werewolf. I mean, it was a split between a werewolf or the lizard guy. Because I've got a lizard tattoo, so I mean, but the werewolf.
That's right.
Yeah.
Angela?
I think I would. I think I'd be the Banshee.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear the scream.
It was like that thing. So
I'll
many
give you a
cushions,
10 when I get
Russell. So
Yeah.
many.
Yeah, I love that she gets to figure things out, and she owns her power, and even though it's terrifying, she's just like,
Yeah, one of the most fun lines to write was, it was somewhere in season 3 where we've realized Lydia's a banshee, and she's standing in Derek's loft, and someone asks her if she feels anything, and she says, "I feel like I'm standing in a graveyard." So once we had that figured out, we had so much fun exploring the mythology with her. We had a lot of fun working on this show. It was tough. It was incredibly hard work. It was stressful, but it was also so rewarding too. And just a lot of fun.
What's it like looking back on the show now, 10 years later, that it's still getting so much viewership, and why do you think it's still resonating so much today?
Well, just from, like, I'm private on Instagram, and I get probably 8 to 10 messages a day asking where the hell season 7 is.
Finally, I'm so glad they're asking the right people and not the actor. I'm like, guys, and they think we like don't want the show to come back. I'm like, no, you're just asking the wrong people. Like, you need to go act. I finally sat down at a convention once. I said, MGM, MTV, and Jeff Davis. So I'm sorry, Jeff.
So I gotta say, it's a nice feeling to know that people still want to see more, but that other people are finding it all of a sudden. I mean, people will tell me, I just watched that show, Teen Wolf, and I can't believe how good it was. So it's really nice that they can do that. And it's nice that we're on a place like Hulu, where now a whole new audience can find it.
All 6 seasons.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. What a journey.
Yeah. Russell, though, what about you? Do you get asked about it?
I do. I mean, and people are very fond about it. You know, it's and I see why, because it's very rich. It's a great tapestry of characters and monsters, and it's quite a ride if you yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a show that everyone can watch. You know, a lot of times I think when folks are trying to write a show that is for a younger audience, they will maybe dumb it down, or maybe the parents aren't real characters, or, you know, there's just something that's a little bit off in terms of not everyone being able to see themselves. But I think that there's something for everyone in Teen Wolf, and I think that that's why audiences keep coming to it and digging in.
We got to do different genres every episode too. I mean, we very much started out as a horror show that had humor and romance, but we went into action. We had elements of sci-fi. I remember when we did episode 310, the episode in the hospital, I said I basically want to do Die Hard in a hospital.
Oh my God.
And Russell did such an amazing job directing it. And I actually, for some reason, I can't remember why, but I had barely any time to write it.
Right. I think I had barely any time to shoot it too, because I think there was another director, he felt sick and I had to jump in and do it like a day's notice. And I think that adrenaline from your script, and also the fact that I had like 5 days to shoot this hour-long thing, it was just crazy. But that energy helps, and that happens a lot in the series too. The energy on set was fantastic.
Yeah, and not being on a broadcast network and having to service 20 million viewers a week meant we could take chances. Some of them didn't work as well as we'd hoped, but we took a lot of risks. One of them was like killing off one of our biggest characters, Allison. I still look back on that and I'm like, oh my God, would I do that again? It was hard. But that was back in the time when it was the thing to do. Was if a character was going to leave a show, you had to give them a spectacular death. Game of Thrones was changing the whole game with that. But having a show where the teenagers deal with death like that, I mean, you had that on Buffy where she dealt with the death of her mom, but you didn't really see it on many teen shows. It was kind of rare, and we took chances. So, and we were also able to do episodes that had gay characters, and not every episode about the gay character had to be a coming out episode or about them being bullied. They were part of the narrative, and it wasn't. We didn't have to do the tropes that go along with it. So we had a lot of freedom that way, and that was great.
Yeah, I would say, I loved that aspect as well with LGBT, that and Q, that I don't know of another show that didn't beladle the point. Is that the word? Is that the right
Labor.
Not belittle, but it's like just emphasize, exactly what you're talking about, and it was just part of life as it is. And I love that Teen Wolf was one of the trailblazers for that kind of TV. And I think as far as my character goes, I think in my life. I spent a good amount of time in a mental institution on Teen Wolf, and funnily enough, I've gone on to test for a lot of projects that either deal with mental illness or a mental problem, or I just played downright crazy. And I have to think that that's somewhere subconsciously that had to have started with Lydia. She was the first person that had a lot of voices in her head, and that's been something that's been actually really near and dear to me, that the amount of times I played even schizophrenic, the kinds of different schizophrenia there are in the world, and it's really had me dive deeper into the different kinds of schizophrenia that there are, and studying different people online. And so that started with Lydia, essentially. And so, you know, Teen Wolf really has shaped us, from at least me, from every corner of my life. Yeah. And I'm just happy everyone's in season 7 as well, Jeff. Like, I get it every day. I got recognized in traffic with a mask on, you know, yesterday, I think, for Lydia. Like, the people are so, this is such a love show. And I still feel that love 10 years later. So that's a testament to, you don't really know how big the wave's going to be, but it's still going. And that's pretty, I'm just like lucky. I didn't do anything to do. I was lucky. I was there at the right time, at the right place, with the right bosses. And they, you know, I feel so lucky.
I don't believe in luck.
You wouldn't.
I was wondering if you were going to say that.
I always go back to the Obi-Wan Kenobi line. I don't believe in luck. Holland, you were amazing. You were amazing in the part. There was no luck about it.
Well, thank you. It's opportunity meets preparedness then, but I still believe I'm of the Bryan Cranston mentality that as far as the actors go, there are so many talented actors that don't work. And, you know, I was really lucky. I was really freaking lucky.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining. All 6
Thank
seasons of Teen
you.
Wolf will be streaming on Hulu March 22nd to kick off Hulu's full moon week. And you can find me on gorycory.com, and you can subscribe to Fangoria on fangoria.com.
Yay, Fangoria, yay.